Hello, everyone. How are you all doing tonight? Want to thank you all for joining us today for our webinar on safely navigating New York City. My name is Cameron Clicchio, and I am the Assistant Director for Student Affairs and for our pre-college and non-degree programs. Now, before I go through our agenda today and introduce our panelists, I just wanted to let you all know that since this is a webinar setting, we can't actually see you during the chat, and our speakers can't see the chat and questions that might be popping up. So if you have any questions, please utilize the chat function. We'll be answering them along the way. Anything that we might not be able to catch right away, or maybe any answers that require a little bit more depth to the answer, we're going to have some time at the end for a Q&A portion.
Yeah, sorry, and you'll want to specifically use the Q&A function as the chat is disabled throughout the.
All right, so we can go ahead and look at the agenda. So just looking ahead at everything. So today, our Dean of Student Affairs, Alon Crawford, will be speaking next to welcome you all here and talk a little bit. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about student supervision, what that will look like as far as your support structures on campus during the summer. Then we'll be talking a little bit about our program policies, including curfews and our campus boundaries. We also are going to have some time to discuss smart discussion points for parents and their students that they can have prior to the start of the program. After that, we'll be looking at our health services and important documents that you need prior to your arrival, as well as some of the policies that we have for Columbia campus. And then after that, we'll pass it on to Columbia Public Safety to share some important contacts and resources for students to stay safe during their time in the summer. And then after all that, we'll have our Q&A session. So looking ahead at our panelists. So first off, we have is Alon Crawford, who's the Senior Associate Dean of Student Affairs. We have Vanessa Ortiz, Director of Student Affairs. We have me, Cameron Clicchio, or introduce myself, Assistant Director of Student Affairs. And then we have Ricardo Morales, Assistant Director of Crime Prevention Programs. Now, I'll be stepping back for a moment and handing everything off to Dean Crawford.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cam. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know we have a number of participants from all around the world. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be recording the session. If you or your family or student is unable to join us tonight, we will have this recorded for you to review again. One of the things I'm so excited that your student will be joining the SPS Columbia University community. We're looking forward to either having you on campus, online, however you're going to be interacting with us. We're very, very excited to have you join. For those who will be joining us in person, this is the first time that we will actually be in person since 2019, when unfortunately we had a global pandemic. So that's certainly not lost on us. We hope that you and your families are safe and sound. And, just as our academics, our community, and our careers are important to the experience, so is safety. It's all of those three pillars are equally important to one another. So tonight we will talk about safety, put a lot of time, resources into the safety of your community member, your student who's going to be joining us for this great experience. And then in a few weeks, Vanessa and her team will talk a little bit about the next webinar that we have available that's really going to be focused on the academic and community piece. But tonight, thank you so much for joining us. I will turn it back over to Cam. Looking forward to answering any questions that you may have. And again, our safety, your safety, and your children's safety and your student safety is our number one priority in partnership with our academics and community experience. So with that, I will turn it over to Cam.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about student supervision and what the administrative support that students will experience while they're in the immersion program. So we work collaboratively with offices across the university to prepare for the arrival of summer immersion students. So there's going to be access to dining, housing, health services, campus safety, and various such offices that Columbia students are privy to as well. This process includes thoughtfully building out policies to keep students safe on campus. So that being our main priority is just making sure there's a safe, structured setting for all students coming into the program. So our program does employ quite a large staff. We have over 200 faculty, staff, and administrators who work with and supervise students in our summer immersion program. This includes full-time administrative staff and student support staff as well that we hire for over the summer. Faculty and staff are thoroughly trained in best practices for keeping all your students safe. And looking at some of more of that residential side of the program and looking what that supervision structure is, we do have a residential program that has dedicated staff living on campus with the students as well. This is to provide student support 24/7, including at late night. So those that are part of the residential side include program leadership, which includes Vanessa, myself, and our other assistant director, Jeanette Sanchez. We have a resident director who will be overseeing all of the halls that we have for the students during all the sessions. And we will also be having 2 residential life coordinators who will focus on training and supervising our RA cohorts. So we have about 60 RAs, resident assistants, that'll be working in the program over the summer. That includes senior resident assistants. These are students that have been part of our pre-college programs in the past, and they're going to be kind of that experienced leadership on the student side of support. And then we fill out the rest with our resident assistants who will be coming in a few weeks before all students start joining the program too. And that's to give kind of a more one-on-one student support. So they'll be paired off with groups of different students for the sessions too. And that just kind of gives everybody just that one point of contact that they know how to reach. So part of that will also be staying in strong communication with their RA.
Thank you so much, Cam. And one thing I just want to point out is just how many levels of supervision we have as part of this program. We really try to be thoughtful about making sure that all the staff working with students are fully supported. There's always multiple people around. I myself, Cam, and another assistant director will all actually be living in the residence halls. If anything happens in the middle of the night, we're there. Early morning, we're there. There's always going to be an administrator accessible. Dean Crawford herself is on call and will be answering those calls as needed and available to step in if anything should ever come up. But I just wanted to take a second to emphasize that as well. I'm going to take over and talk about program policies. Again, I'm Vanessa Ortiz. I'm the Director of Student Affairs, and I oversee the residential program and on-campus student experience. So one of the things that we do to keep students safe is have a curfew. We want to make sure that we're sort of balancing out being able to give students some autonomy, some ability to be on campus, be outside of the building on their own, and balance that out with ensuring that we're able to get students in safely, that we're accounting for everybody's whereabouts, and that we're noticing, you know, if a student is not in by curfew, and we're finding them right away if that's the case. So on weekdays, Sunday through Thursday, we have what's called in-building curfew, which means that students need to be in their own assigned dorm building by 9 p.m. So that's specifically in their own assigned dorm building. It can't be in a friend's dorm building. It has to be in their own. So that's 9 p.m. At 11:30 p.m., students actually have to be in their own room. I know students stay up past 11:30. We're not telling them they need to go to sleep at that time, although we highly encourage that on weekdays, students get their rest and are able to go to sleep and get all the rest that they need for their next day. We don't make them go to sleep, but we do want students to be in their room. We want to make sure that we can sort of shut down operations at 11:30 p.m. We, of course, have staff on duty on call overnight, and they do rounds in the building. But that's the time in which we do like a double check. So at in building curfew, we're checking to make sure everyone's in the building. At in-room curfew, we're checking to make sure everybody's in their room. Curfew is lifted at 6 a.m. So that's the earliest students are able to leave their room, leave the building, and go out onto campus. On weekends, we have a bit of a later curfew, especially because we have events that go later into the evening. On weekends, in-building curfew is 11:30 p.m. and then in-room curfew is 1 a.m. Curfew again lifts at 6 a.m. Throughout the day and throughout the evening, we always have staff stationed at different points around the campus. And especially for weekends when we have a later curfew, we try to align that with late night activities, right? So students want to get out of the building, you want to have fun, you want to have something to do on a Friday night and Saturday night. We try to coordinate enough fun things for you to do in the evening. So as you're out till 11:30 on campus, it's because you're at an event on campus. For instance, your first Friday night in the program, in the residential program, we're going to be having like a silent disco. We'll have a DJ, we'll have headsets. There'll be a lot going on. It'll be sort of a late night event for everybody to be part of. And then at 11:30, we're making sure everybody's in the building, in their own assigned building. One thing I want to point out is quiet hours, which is 30 minutes before in-room curfew. And that just means that if you're everyone will be in the building and we have to start winding down. Not everybody goes to sleep late. We want to make sure everyone's being respected in terms of their sleep times, and not everyone wants to be up till 1 in the morning. We want to basically wind everybody down, start getting the building quiet as people prepare to go to bed. That said, courtesy hours is 24 hours a day. So if somebody's playing their stereo really loudly or anything like that, we're going to address that situation, and we ask that people be respectful of their neighbors as they are going to be living in a residential community. Another thing that we do to keep students safe is we establish campus boundaries, right? Columbia being an urban campus, right? The city of New York is part of our campus. We're integrated with the city in many ways. However, we want to sort of limit where students are able to go on their own. So in terms of our campus boundaries, students are allowed to roam on their own within the limits of campus from 110th Street to 120th Street between Amsterdam and Riverside. So the little map shows it here, but we'll provide a bigger map when students arrive on campus, and we'll also be providing a list of local shopping and eateries within those boundaries. We know students like to go get their coffee, go get their boba, have lunch with their friends off campus, and there's plenty of places to eat. There's plenty of places to eat coffee. There's plenty of places to shop within those boundaries. And so we want students generally to stick within that area as part of our policy for campus boundaries. When students can actually physically be out within these boundaries, they can go before class. If they want to go get coffee before class off campus within these boundaries, they're able to. We know some students have a later start time than others. So some folks might have time in the mornings to run errands, maybe go to the drugstore to get personal hygiene products or whatever they might need, notebooks, school supplies. They're able to do that. There's also a 2-hour break between classes each day. So students utilize that time to eat lunch. Of course, we encourage students to eat lunch on campus in the residence halls or in the campus dining hall, especially if you are a residential student. We really want you to utilize that. You're paying for those dining services, so we want you to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. But students do from time to time prefer to eat lunch at a local restaurant, and that's totally okay. We highly encourage the buddy system. It's not required, but we highly encourage students not to go places on their own. It's just better for accountability, for community safety. If you take a friend with you, we know not everyone, sometimes people like to do things on their own, and that's totally okay, but we ask that students communicate with their RA, communicate with the staff member if they are going somewhere on their own. Students are also able to kind of be out within these boundaries after class anytime before in building curfew. And when public safety has their turn to speak, they'll kind of talk about all of the safety precautions we have concentrated in this area. And that'll sort of help you understand why this is the area in which we feel comfortable with students kind of being out on their own within these boundaries. We don't enforce any time limitations on students in terms of how long they can be out within these boundaries, as long as they meet curfew requirements and they're not going past 110th or 120th or Amsterdam and Riverside. All right. The next thing is we do have some restrictions on subway and public transportation. So we generally utilize public transportation for all of our off-campus excursions during the program. You know, we're taking students all over the city to see Broadway shows, to go to baseball games, to see city landmarks, and we utilize the subway for those things. When we take students off campus, we're doing it in a 1-to-5 staff to student ratio. So, you know, we always have plenty of supervision when we're taking students off campus outside of those boundaries. We do not permit students to take the subway or other forms of public or private transit on their own. So students can't per se call themselves an Uber and go to the Lower East Side, or, you know, we basically, we don't want students to jump in a cab or take the subway somewhere out in the city on their own. They have to be supervised by an RA when they're leaving campus. And we know that students will want to explore the city while they're here. That's what your RAs are for. You can make that request with them to say, hey, I'd really like to go visit Chinatown. I'd really like to go shopping in Chelsea. Whatever it is that students are interested in, they can coordinate those activities with their RA, and we'll find staff to help chaperone and other students who might be interested in doing the same thing. All right, so we know that sometimes students might have to go outside of campus or local boundaries because they might have a medical appointment with a specialist that they need to attend to. We know some students are serious musicians and might be using their summer to audition, you know, do a special audition, or there might be some special circumstance in which a student needs special permission to leave the campus or local boundaries on their own. So the starting process is always to talk to their RA about what it is they need. The RA will work to generate a pass and figure out what kind of pass it might be. And that parent, then that student's parent or guardian will need to approve their pass. So we'll communicate and get permission from the parent or guardian. If the student wants to leave sort of the campus boundaries on their own without a staff member supervising them, we'll get your sign off for that.
Vanessa?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We're getting a lot of questions, so we thought it might be helpful for you to jump in to talk about the difference between the residential and the commuter. There are lots of questions about boundaries, getting on the train, so on and so forth. So if you could address that before you go on, we'd be great, because there's lots of questions in the Q&A about that.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. So sure, I'm happy to differentiate. My cat just knocked down a bunch of water bottles, but happy to differentiate between the residential and commuter program. So the residential program means that students are living on campus in the residence halls. So that's one of our program options for the summer, is living in the residence halls. Students are paying for that option. Our other option is a commuter program in which students will live at a private residence with their family, supervised by an adult who is not part of our program, and they will commute to campus, and they're able to take public transportation on their own. So I do want to clarify that our restriction on public transit is specifically for residential students who are 24 hours under our care, as opposed to commuter students who are only under our care during the time in which they're in class. And then I see a question about, can I switch from commuter to a residential program? That is totally an option. You would reach out to hsp-admit@columbia.edu if you'd like to change from a commuter program to a residential program. I think this is especially a good opportunity for students who are coming in from out of the area. It is our preference that if you're not from New York City, you are applying to our residential program as opposed to our commuter program, because we do not permit commuter students to live in hotels or Airbnbs off campus without adult supervision. So if you're a commuter student, you should either be local to New York City or within commuting distance of New York City, or your whole family's coming and you have supervision off campus. We know that some families are coming from out of the country and they'll be staying as a family at a hotel together, and that's totally a viable option. I do see a question about roommates, and if so, can we request someone in particular as a roommate, like a friend that's also coming to the program? In general, we like, one cool thing about this program is that it's an opportunity to meet people that you haven't met before, people from all over the world, right? The roommate experience is quite unique, and we try to do a good job in making roommate matches. That said, we do understand that there might be, if there's a specific reason why you would need a certain roommate, you can definitely make the request and we can try to accommodate that. And there is a survey that you all should have gotten, especially if you're enrolled in session 1. Session 2, people haven't gotten it yet, but if you're in session 1, there was a pre-summer survey that you should have gotten. If you don't remember whether or not you made that a specific request through that, you can always email hsp-office@columbia.edu. hsp-office@columbia.edu. And that's also where you can direct any questions that you have about the residential experience, the on-campus experience, things related to the dorms, to dining, questions about safety. Those can all be directed to that hsp-office@columbia.edu account.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Yeah. And I'll answer some more questions in a bit. So in terms of building access, I wanted to talk about some of our building policies. One of them is building access. So students need a CUID to be able to access buildings on campus. Most administrative and academic buildings on campus require students to swipe in using their ID. For the residence halls, there's a guard at each residential building entrance, and students must swipe in, and students will only have access to their own assigned residential building. Commuter students do not have access to any residential buildings, and we can't host them in the building. So even if, say, you're a commuter student, you have friends who live in the residence halls, in terms of this specific program, residential students cannot host commuter students or any other visitors into their building, just because we want to maintain exactly who should be in the building, who shouldn't be in the building, and it helps us keep better track of things and know, who's where and doing what. Because we don't have a mechanism for supervising commuter students after hours, it's our preference that commuter students after courses or formal programming, that they're heading home. We don't want students to travel too late, and we want to make sure that they're in communication with their parents at all times. And I'll talk a little bit more about commuter students and our policies in relation to them in a bit. If you are living in the residence halls, one thing I do want to note about floor access is residential floors are assigned based on gender, and students can only be on their own assigned floor. I know we're really strict about these policies in terms of who can be where, but there's plenty of space across campus where students can congregate and hang out, right? We have lounge space, there's academic buildings, there's outdoor space, there's plenty of space where students can gather and hang out with their friends. But when it comes to their living space, we are very restrictive about that, because we want to make sure that if a student has a roommate, that they feel comfortable, that everyone on the floor is going to be comfortable, and know that only people who live on their floor are going to be on their same floor, right? So we do that to make sure that we provide the highest level of comfort that we can to people. Students can only access building common lounge space on the ground floor or on their assigned floor. But again, there's space all over campus. It's a big campus. Students have access to many buildings across campus, libraries, the student center, lots of cool spaces that students can hang out with friends, and lots of activities to do together. Room access, students should communicate with their roommate about whether or not guests from their same floor are allowed to come into their room. We know everyone has different levels of what they feel comfortable with, and so we want people to be good community members, be good communicators, and work out those sort of details with their roommate. In terms of visitors to campus, outside guests will be limited on campus due to continuing public health concerns. Columbia takes COVID-19 very seriously, and we try to be really thoughtful about our campus policies in relation to guests. And then just generally, we want students while they're here to be fully immersed in the program, right? It's our summer immersion program. We want them to be here. We want them to be present. But in the case that a family member or a family friend wants to visit for a limited time, please make sure to contact our office, the HSP-office email, and I'm happy to get on the phone and work out the details of what that visit would mean. Our office will then generate a pass for sign out with a family member or family friend, and but visitors will not be allowed to enter residential buildings. We don't encourage students to leave campus overnight during the program, but if a parent or guardian needs to request this, they should let us know well in advance. Like you already know, we have a very specific family reunion that we need my kid to be there for. There might be things related to statewide standardized testing or a family emergency that comes up. We understand that those situations happen. However, things like a vacation in the middle of the program or a special outing, we would ask that you would schedule that outside of the time of the program, mostly because students will miss out on so much in not being there for all those kind of informal moments of being with their friends, meeting people, completing homework assignments, that kind of thing. So now down to some policies for commuter students. We have lots of programming that I talked about. Programming means that we have faculty lectures, we have workshops, we have just a ton of on-campus activities, and commuter students are welcome to attend optional community building events on weekends as long as they have prior permission from a parent or guardian. So commuter students, if you're coming to campus on the weekend, please make sure that your parent or guardian is aware. They should know if you're staying late on campus. They should know if you're coming to campus on the weekend. We trust you to communicate these details and not have your parent or guardian worried about where you are and not knowing that you've come to campus. We'll have some evening events with staff supervision, but it's important that students communicate travel plans specifically with their own parent or guardian, and students can't stay on campus after events end. So if we have a special Friday evening event that they're coming to, immediately after that event, they should head home. They should let their parent know that they're coming home. Just generally, Monday through Thursday, students should leave campus no later than 7 p.m., especially on weeknights. We want to make sure that people are getting home safely, that they're not traveling too late after dark. And, just in terms of staff supervision, our resources after 7 p.m. Sort of move toward the dorm, and that's where all our staff are. And since commuter students aren't able to access the residential space, there just won't be as many staff outside of the residence halls to supervise commuter students. Building access that commuter students have, they can be in the library, they can be in learner hall, and there's other designated event locations that they can be on campus. We know that they might need to stay for study groups or things like that, but they're not allowed to be in the residence halls, like I mentioned. Commuter students who will not reside in their primary residence during the program, like if you don't live in commuting distance, but you are a commuter student, you must live at a residence that includes direct adult supervision. You're with a parent or guardian, you're living with a family friend, and they're taking responsibility for any emergencies that might happen while you're here and studying with the program. Commuters are not permitted to live in unsupervised housing, such as hotels, Airbnbs, hostels, on their own. As a program, we are not able to take responsibility for commuter students who reside outside of the program. should things come up in the middle of the night, we want to be assured that somebody's there closer to them who can actually handle any situation that might come up. And then one more policy, important policy that I'll mention is we take the protection of minors very seriously at Columbia, and this policy creates a standard of conduct for all interactions between members of our community and students. And that's why some of our policies are really restrictive, why we have so much supervision, is because we want to make sure that students are protected as part of our program. All our staff and faculty are mandated reporters. And this means that we have an independent duty to report any situations in which there's suspected cases of abuse or maltreatment of students under 18 years old. And this is something that we have to report regardless of how much context we have for it, regardless of how many details. We don't personally, the staff and faculty of the program don't personally investigate the details of it, but if a student shares something that is cause for concern, it's something that we want to be mindful of and we want to take action on and we want to report. And it's out of a legal and moral obligation to protect minors. Here, because the program's in New York State, those incidents get reported to the New York State Child Abuse and Maltreatment Hotline. A few things that we do to safeguard students are we make sure that all our staff and faculty undergo background checks and protection of minors training. We ensure students are always accompanied by a protection of minors trained staff member when attending university events. We limit one-on-one interactions between adults and minors. That's why there's always a lot of staff around. And we report any issues of suspected abuse, even if it was something that happened in the past. All right, I'm going to hand it back to Cam. Cam, you're on mute.
I thought I was going to make it the whole night without doing that once, but here we go. So we're going to be talking about safety and your student. Just wanted to highlight a couple of discussion points that parents and students might want to be having before arriving to the program too. So keeping in mind that there's, while we have our own policies and expectations for students while they're here, that you as a parent might have a different set of guidelines or expectations that you want to have with your student. So we want to kind of help you have some guiding points to help kind of structure those conversations ahead of time too. So looking at some of those points, we want to look at some personal safety tips. So talking about discussing the importance of staying alert, and mainly just especially when transit with big groups or in any congested areas too, just making sure you're staying aware of your surroundings, that you're staying attentive, that you're putting away your phone or electronics, and making sure you're just aware of your spatial surroundings, keeping track of all your personal items. If you feel more comfortable bringing things that are going to help keep your valuables a little bit more secure instead of having them loosely held in your pockets or such. And also looking at what do you want to carry those items into, on top of just while you will have security in the buildings and the residence hall as far as you want to store things, because there will be card access off, not only from the entrance but to their own rooms, but also just keeping in mind like how you are holding your items when you're out on campus and out in the boundary area as well. So other points to look at is for communication is setting expectations related to safety and communication, and having your students understand what the checkpoints are to stay connected, especially for those curfew times. And they do have those more direct links to resident assistance. So making sure if there's any issues, being able to be there for curfew, for having any issues where they might need an emergency or assistance, of knowing who their contacts are, who they can reach out to. We'll talk a little bit later about campus safety as well, but those RAs will be kind of like their direct access that they'll be able to speak to or text or reach out to if they need something immediately. Also looking at respecting guidelines. So encouraging your students to respect campus boundaries and other safety policies too. While we do have this kind of overhanging support system, we want to make sure that it's not kind of a repeated issue of multiple nights where you know, you're cutting it razor sharp close to curfew or missing it multiple nights too. Those were some things that we would need to address if it becomes a kind of a consistent issue that we think might be a concern. So we also want to kind of encourage you to have some safety recommendations, like having a buddy system, having somebody in your kind of close group with your RA and your RA group of students, somebody who you know that you can have as your point of contact. They know you always kind of like look out for each other, speak to one another. They always know where each other are. In that case, if anything happens, because sometimes, you know, if your phone dies or there's no way we're having trouble reaching you, there's somebody that we know we can contact that at least knows where you are at the time. So always trying your best to stay connected as well. So students and parents are encouraged to utilize multiple phone apps that we have for alerts to stay up to date on campus safety. We'll be highlighting a lot more of those apps later on as well. But just to give you kind of not only more updates about campus safety as well, but just the nearby New York City area too, of you know, maximizing how your own safety and security.
All right, we are going to get into some health policies. I know we started to see some questions related to COVID-19. Generally, in terms of health protocols, we do have some local resources that we'll be utilizing to deal with any health-related issues. So for residential students, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., if a health concern comes up, we will be taking students to Columbia's on-campus health center, and that's the same for commuter students. After hours, if something comes up, the health center is only open until 5 o'clock. So after hours, if something comes up, a student doesn't feel well, we're going to take them to the emergency room at Mount Sinai, St. Luke's, which is just across the street from Columbia. It's really close. It's a place that we utilize. And then for emergency situations, we're generally going to take students to Mount Sinai, to St. Luke's. And that's just on Amsterdam Avenue. For commuter students after hours, generally we want students to use their at-home provider if they're local, and then any emergency situations, again, we would take them to St. Luke's. If a student is feeling ill prior to the start of the program, for residential students, or the morning of their class, we encourage students to stay home and rest, right? So if a student's not feeling well, we highly discourage students from just pushing through and being like, you know, I don't feel well, I'm going to come to the program anyway. In situations like that, if a student becomes ill and is no longer able to attend, just for public health concern, we would rather refund a student who couldn't come because of health reasons than to have a student come to campus who is sick. And then that's the same for commuter students. So if a commuter student's not feeling well any day of the program, their parent can call our office just to let us know that they won't be able to make it to class that day. And then we'll ask them to work with their faculty member to catch up with whatever they missed on the days that they were sick. And then the student services office will contact parents or guardians if a student you know, is sick and needs to be taken to the health center. So say if we're going to take somebody to the emergency room, we contact parents. If we're just taking them to the on-campus health center, we generally don't contact parents in advance. We'll have the student contact the parent, but if we're taking them to the emergency, a staff member will contact the parent. Just some other health protocols. It's critical that health form and emergency contact information is up to date and accurate, right? We need to make sure that the forms that you submitted as part of enrollment are correct. So if you think that anything on a form that you submitted might not be correct, feel free to reach out to us to give us updated, corrected information. When students come to the program, they must have medical insurance that covers routine as well as emergency care. So if you're an international student, please ensure that your health insurance covers international coverage, not just for emergencies. It has to also cover routine care. Students should be sure to bring their medical insurance card with them to the program, as if we have to take you to St. Luke's, they're definitely going to ask for that insurance card. Staff are not allowed to provide any medication to students or hold any medicine for students. So if a student, for any of you students, if you take a regular medication and your parent would like that to be held by the school or the health center, we ask that you coordinate with Disability Services Office to submit that request, and we can sort of work with them to figure out what's going to be the best solution. And then staff will always escort students to health center or the emergency room. So we're always going to have somebody go with them and not send them on their own. Parental notification. So Columbia aims to keep parents or guardians informed on issues regarding their students' health. In most cases, staff will communicate issues regarding attendance, health, and behavior to the parent or guardian. But we'll always consider a student's safety in our decision about when to reach out to a parent. So I do want to be transparent about that. In terms of COVID-19 protocols, I'm sure this is on a lot of people's mind. Columbia University is currently in a status of green, which means that there's very low COVID here right now. We feel pretty safe on campus. And I will say that we have the benefit of having just an incredible Columbia University health department who works in conjunction with Columbia doctors, Columbia surgeons. We have such a huge medical network as part of the Columbia University team and experts who drive all of our policy making for the university. So we're in really good hands in terms of just how the university has managed keeping COVID rates low on campus. So we feel really good about that. As you know, COVID-19 vaccination is mandatory for all students, faculty, and staff who are present on campus. And in most programs, with the exception of this one, online students even have to submit for their COVID-19 vaccination. In terms of boosters, we're not making boosters a mandatory requirement. However, we strongly recommend it. Getting a COVID-19 booster vaccine is going to be critical to ensuring that you have a good experience in the program. We understand that not everybody might be eligible to get it or might not be able to before the start of the program, but we do want to note that that if a student has a COVID-19 booster, is vaccinated, has their booster, if they come into contact with COVID, they're not going to have to quarantine. However, students who are unvaccinated or who because of a special kind of religious or medical reason that they can't be vaccinated, or reason why they can't get a booster, they would have to quarantine. So that does dramatically change the experience, right? If you are exposed, having to quarantine versus not having to quarantine. On-campus access requirements include downloading the CU Reopen app. It's a special app that tracks people's ability to be on campus in compliance with COVID-19 requirements. Students are required to read the Enhanced University Health and Safety Policy, sign our health compact, and complete a training so that people know best practices for maintaining a safe community. All the strategies that Columbia has utilized have been really effective in helping keeping COVID low. And we definitely need all of our high school program students to be on board with that and to be contributing and to be committed in the same way to keeping COVID rates low here. Our masking policy changes based on COVID levels, public health guidance, and what the experts in our health department feel is needed. Currently, masking is required in classrooms, but not anywhere else on campus, but that might change. So I don't want to definitively say what the masking policy will be. I think it's safe for students to plan to bring masks with them to the program so that they have those available. There might be times when they just feel more comfortable with it. And one thing I do want to note is that, well, it's not required on campus. And only in classrooms at the moment. When we do go on trips outside, say we're going to a Broadway theater, we're taking the subway somewhere, those will be times in which students are required to mask in accordance with New York policies. Okay, and then I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna hand it over to Ricardo Morales from Public Safety to answer some questions, and then I'll be answering some questions that come up in the chat while he speaks.
Great, thank you. And again, thank you for inviting me. Thank you. So I represent public safety in the area of crime prevention. I cover the 3 campuses, Morningside, Manhattanville, and the Medical Center at 168th Street. Our interim director, interim vice president for public safety is Deidre Fuchs. Here's my contact information. They also have 2 assistants that if I'm not available, they're there to for you. Adolfo Blanco and Amin Torres. These are our contact phone numbers. This is our website. We have a great website which I'll refer to, publicsafety.columbia.edu. Our motto is pride, professionalism, and service. Go ahead. So let's talk about the Columbia University community. And before I talk about the community, I want to talk about crime in New York City and crime in as a result of COVID. And there's several reasons why crime in New York City, not only New York City, crime in a lot of large cities has gone up. COVID has played a role in people's health, has played a role in programs that were there for mental illness, for programs that were there to help people. It also affected the judicial system, the changing of the laws and stuff like that. So yeah, crime in New York City has gone up. And for the majority of New Yorkers, depending on your age now, you never experience an increase in crime in New York City. New York City's always been one of the safest cities in the world. Great police department. But yeah, New York City has increased in crime. Now, I want to talk to you about the Columbia University community compared to other communities in New York City. Why this community is, compared to other communities in New York City, is safe. Because there's a lot of learning institutions all around us, which we'll refer to. Before COVID, that we had, or Columbia was recognized as one of the safest urban schools in the United States. And up on the screen, those are the independent studies that were done for parents. Parents always looking for a good academic school, but I want to make sure that I'm sending my kid to a safe school, especially if it's out of state. So through the years, Columbia University has been recognized, the community has been recognized as a safe campus. Reader's Digest, Columbia recognized as one of the safest urban schools in the United States. The Daily Pennsylvania study finds Columbia safest urban university. You would think that that newspaper in Pennsylvania is going to give the props to the Pennsylvania schools. No, they had it right. Columbia was recognized as a safe urban school. The National College Health Assessment, graduating seniors that year, 99.5% of graduating seniors stated that they felt safe at Columbia University. And in 2017, the alarms.org survey, now folks, you can actually Google this stuff. The alarms.org survey, we were ranked at a 4,500 four-year colleges across the United States. We were in the top 100, and we were in the top 100, we were number 22. In fact, in that survey, 4 New York City schools make the top 100. We were one of them. In 2020, Columbia ranked 5th safest college campus in New York, Safe Streets USA 2020 survey. Folks, it doesn't mean that things don't happen here. No, this is New York City. I love New York City. I'm born and raised New Yorker, and I won't change New York City for any other city in the world. But you always have to think crime prevention, and we're going to talk about that. Doesn't mean things don't happen. Anything can happen, but we're going to talk about how we can make our experience at Columbia University a safe one. Go ahead. So, go ahead. So what happens at Columbia University? Just like any large institution, larceny of unattended property is the #1 reported incident, reported crime. And it happens at a lot of large institutions. People tend to leave their stuff unattended and somebody comes along and takes it. Folks, I've been working for this outstanding university for 36 years. And in my 36 years, we've actually arrested people that work here, that go to school here, and people that try to blend in. What I'm trying to tell you is that a thief could be anybody. You got to remember that. What can we do while we're at Columbia? We got to keep an eye on our property. Your dorm room. Oh, I'm going to go next door to see my friend. I'm going to go down the hall to the bathroom. I'm going to go outside to go get a cup of coffee. Please get into the habit of securing your property. These are you see the pictures on the screen. There's, the theft of unattended property, your laptop. Why would you leave in this incident here? Why would you leave a $1,500 computer alone and unattended? Somebody could come along and take. We have a wonderful gym, 4 levels of every kind of machine there is. But what happens at the gym, just like any large gym, people tend to bring their stuff with them, their personal belongings. That stuff should be in the lockers. Put in the lockers if you're going to go to the gym or working out. Now, the other thing is, I love to make sure that my phone or my tablet or my computer is charged. And it's okay to charge it, but you got to keep an eye on it. So please, if you're going to charge your electronics, please make sure you keep an eye on it. You're studying in the classroom, in the cafeteria, in the lounge, with some friends. You have to step away. You don't want to carry your computer with you, your property with you. Ask one of your classmates, hey, can you watch my stuff while I step away, and I'll do the same for you. Remember that a thief could be anybody. We all watch those shows on TV, those police shows, or a thief looks like a certain way. It's a male, right? Unshaven. He's wearing a knitted hat and carrying a bag. No. A thief could be anybody. You got to remember that. Go ahead, please. So these are our phone numbers. We're the only department at Columbia that's open 24 hours. I cover we have 3 campuses. You're going to be staying at the Morningside campus. So we're located in Low Library, right in the middle of the campus. Our president, he's on the 2nd floor. We're on the 1st floor, that beautiful building where the alma mater is. If you're facing the alma mater, the 24-hour entrance for public safety is on the right-hand side. You could go right in there and go into public safety. Please program our phone number, the non-emergency phone number. If you want to put one phone number in there in your phone, CU Public Safety Morningside, put the emergency phone number in there, 212-854-5555. The other campuses, that's the medical center. This is the information for the Manhattanville campus, which is a pretty new campus. We also provide a walking escort during evening hours where you call 212-854-SAFE, and SAFE stands for 7233. And between 7 and 3, and I understand you have a curfew, so you shouldn't be out there at that time. But if you feel uneasy at 7 o'clock, you can always have somebody call for a walking escort. Go ahead, please. So we also have our own ambulance team, outstanding at what they do. It's called CU EMS. Now, if you feel sick, somebody tripped and fell, they need medical attention, right away, people think, no, where I come from, I call 911. Folks, it's okay to call 911. But here's what happens when you call 911 on campus. 911, police operator, emergency, what's emergency? Well, I need an ambulance. Oh, where's the ad? Where's it at? I'm in Fernal Hall. They don't know where Fernal Hall is. You know where Fernal Hall is. You need a street address. It's good to know the street address, but I want you to call public safety. We're right there. We're going to respond right away. We're going to make sure that our ambulance responds right away. So it's the same emergency phone number, 212-854-5555. Go ahead. So we have a lot of public safety in the community. When you're checking out the campus, all the stores, on Broadway in Amsterdam, look for these things. The emergency call box. Here's a picture of it right there. And we have them all over the campus. You can visit our website, publicsafety.columbia.edu, emergency call boxes. During evening hours, when it starts getting dark, you'll see a blue light. And from a distance, I could tell that there's an emergency call box. I could press the red button and call public safety. You also have security booths. Here's a picture of our security booths. We have them on Broadway. We have them on Amsterdam. We have them on 100 Broadway 116, Amsterdam 116, Broadway 116. And then on 120th Street, we also have one there closest to Broadway and 120th Street. We also have two 24-hour locations on just before on Morningside Drive, by Morningside Park, and those are security booths that we have there. I want to know when I'm walking around. I want to know where those security booths are at. If I need help or have a question to ask, that's a place where I could go for help. We patrol the community by car, foot, and bicycle. Yeah, we patrol them. You see our picture of our bike unit there. Great for the environment. Great exercise for our supervisors who ride them. It's a great crime prevention tool, and we respond right away. We also have the VIA on-demand evening shuttle. That's for a sort of like a Uber Lyft type program. You can read more about it at transportation.columbia.edu. We also have an intercampus shuttle that goes between the campuses. Go ahead, please. So another reason why this community is safe is because we have this partnership. And there's a lot of learning institutions around us. And we all work together to provide a safe environment. We have our partners from Barnard College, Teachers College, JTS, the International House, Union Theological Seminary, Mount Sinai Hospital right across the street. By the way, if you don't know, Mount Sinai Hospital is known for saving people's lives. Excellent trauma unit there. We have a great working relationship with our friends from the New York City Police Department, the 26th Police Precinct. That's the police department that patrols our community. But we also have a partnership with stores in the community. See that red line sticker in the window on the screen there? That red line is in approximately 166 stores between the 3 campuses. That sticker, an 8x10 sticker in the window means this: I'm walking down the street, I need help, I feel uneasy, somebody's following me, I could always step into that store and say, hey, I'm a Columbia student, please call public safety for me. And they let you stay there and until we arrive or the police department is called. So look out for the safe havens when you're checking out all those stores along Broadway in Amsterdam, places where you could go to in the event you need help. And we have that partnership with our partner schools, our brother and sister schools. And we don't care if, who's a student from where. No, we're helping everybody. I don't care if you're a Barnard Teachers College, JTS student. No, we all help each other out. We all share information. Something happens at Columbia, we make sure that our partners know what's happening, so everyone is on the alert. Go ahead, please. So this is the ID card. You're going to be getting an ID card. Folks, please don't loan your ID card out to anyone, not to your friends. So don't worry about it. They're not checking ID cards. No. If we start, you have to scan your ID card. And if that picture doesn't match, that person, whoever has someone else's ID card, could get in trouble. And then we're going to find out, how did you get the ID card? Well, my friend is in this program, all this. And now you have to explain to your dean, why did you loan your ID card to this person? ID card belongs to you. It doesn't belong to anybody else. So please don't loan it. It gives you access to, the university buildings, that shuttle bus we spoke about, those public safety safe havens, those stores. Visit our website, publicsafety.columbia.edu, and look for safe havens. Some of the stores, I put a little asterisk next to it. They'll give you a discount with your Columbia ID card for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you want to check that out. Again, please don't loan your ID card. Go ahead, Vanessa. We have a great website, publicsafety.columbia.edu. Great website for a new Columbian, right? You're a new Columbian. And by the way, congratulations and welcome to our family. It's a great website for resources. I want to know everything about Columbia University. I'm brand new to Columbia. Here's our website. Everything about us, the clear alerts. There's a certain law that we have to post incidents that happen in our community. You could check out the clear alerts. My area, crime prevention, services that we provide. The annual security report is on there about public safety and the community. So with the arrow is there, there's information there about emergency protocols. Great information, emergency protocols by campus. A fire, bomb threat, gas leak, or any kind of emergency, that information is right there. Please view it, please review it. And we also have 2 videos for you to watch on active shooter awareness, run, hide, and fight, and the NYPD active shooter awareness. Now, an active shooter could be, just like I said, a thief could be anybody. An active shooter could be anybody. We all watch those shows, again, on TV, and no, he looks like a certain person. No, an active shooter could be anybody. Please review the tips. And I always get into the habit, and you start looking at the tips. A lot of this stuff is common sense stuff. But what you should do is anywhere that you go brand new, the first thing on your mind should be is, How do I get out of here in case of an emergency? This is my dormitory. This is my room. This is my academic building. I want to know, the first thing I want to know is where are the stairwells out on my floor? In the event I need to get out, that's where I'm going out. And rather than taking the elevator on a coffee break or lunch break, hey, go down the stairwell. Familiarize yourself with how to get out of a building in the event of an emergency. You're going to a movie theater, you're going to anywhere, even a restaurant. Know where the exits are in the event there was an emergency, you know how to get out. Please view the video, it's 6 minutes long. Please review, you can share it with your friends and family. We have a lot of great information on there, tabs, very, very easy to use. Great for anyone that's new to Columbia and or even a seasoned employee. We also have our calendars on there, events that we have. I want to sign up for campus emergency text. That information is there. Go ahead, please.
And parents can sign up for the emergency
that's
text
right.
as
That's
well.
right. In fact,
I was
right
just,
from our, thank you.
I was
Right
just
from our
about
website, there's a little tab. They see, I try to put all the tabs. We put all those tabs there to make it user friendly. So
Yes.
here's what you could do. Now the student can sign up for it, right? Sign up for campus emergency text. And also the parents, you have now you have 2 more spaces, one for the student and 2 more spaces. The parent, the father, the mother, grandmother, the guardian, whoever it is. But you want to make sure that you let them know, hey, listen, I registered your phone number to receive campus emergency text. Something happens at Columbia, I want to make sure that you know what's happening. So if you're going to sign up your parents, let them know I'm going to sign you up to receive campus emergency text. And go ahead, I think this is the next one. Okay,
I'm just going to jump in here really quickly before you. Thank you, Ricardo. You're providing some great information, and folks who are on the call, you know, we're sharing all of this information with you to make you aware, not scare, right? We're not trying to scare you. We're just trying to share this information to say your student needs to be alert. There's so many different resources. There were so many different precautions. There's information that you can access if you are either a parent who's sending a commuter student or a parent who's sending their student to New York City for the first time. We pay attention and we really have thought of every single thing. So as Ricardo mentioned, he and his team are very, very experienced. So we're sharing all of this information to make you aware so that if there is emergency, your student knows how to handle it. So I just wanted to reinforce what you were saying, Ricardo.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So getting back to active shooter, remember an active shooter could be anybody. We also have an outstanding investigations team. I think they're the best in the IVs. And if you ever hear suspicious activity, you saw something on social media or blog, whether somebody's writing some crazy stuff or you overheard a suspicious conversation, we got to help the people that protect us every single day. Come up with a public safety. Tell us what's happening. With your help, we could prevent something from happening on campus. Never happened at Columbia, but you know what? It can happen anywhere. So remember our investigators, you don't have to go to the investigators. You could call public safety and tell us what's happening. Campus emergency text, we spoke about that. In the event of any kind of emergency, we're going to send a message to your phone. What's going on? Where to stay away from? We don't start getting into, conversations. What's going on? Where to stay away from? Sometimes we get information from the local police. There's a police investigation in the community. Please stay away from that area. And then we always give you updates as the incident goes along. So if we say stay away, you stay away until you get another update. It's okay to go back into that area. What do we send out? Theft, emergency information about weather emergencies, theft or assaults in the area, active shooter emergency, or local national security. So you don't, it says here to go to, faculty and staff. No, go to publicsafety.columbia.edu. And right there, it has that easy tab. You click on it, and that's how you register. Go ahead.
One thing I just wanted to note is that the program generally has a 1-to-7 staff to student ratio, and we spend a significant amount of time training for various emergency scenarios and also just mitigating risks, right? Because we want to avoid an emergency situation altogether, and so that's what we actively try to do, and why many of our policies are so specific, because we understand the need for these emerging adults, teenagers who are becoming adults, to have some autonomy. And at the same time, we want to balance that out by ensuring that we have plenty of safeguards and that we have plenty of staff on campus who are trained and know how to deal with things and know how to mitigate any risks to students or to the community in general.
You know what's different from our campus and other schools? We have that partnership, not only with the other schools, we have that partnership with everyone, all departments and, you know, all the dean's office, everyone's on the same page. It doesn't matter what patch you have on the shoulder. Everyone's on the same page to providing a safe campus environment. That's what I love about working at Columbia University, that partnership that we have. We also have the best app on campus. It's called Lion Safe. And everything I just spoke to you about is right on that app. Please download it into your smart device, whether it's Apple or Android device. Columbia University Lion Safe app. It has information, all the information I just spoke to you about, right on that app by campus. They also have a cool feature. I'm brand new to Columbia. I need a map of the campus. There it is right there. It also has a cool feature called Friend Walk. And what I like about Friend Walk is this. I feel uneasy about walking or, in the community, whatever it is. I could always send a message from this app to someone on my contacts to have the ability to monitor me until I get to my location. And they have the ability to call the police in case of an emergency. So please download that Lion Safe app. I think it's the best app. It took us about 3 years to get this together because, it's a great app. We wanted to make sure that we had the right app for campus. Go ahead, please.
And to your point of the university fully knows that we have all these high school students coming to class, to campus. They're ready to welcome you. We collaborate with almost every department on campus to prepare for their arrival. And it really is truly collaborative, and we try to integrate this high school program with the university as much as possible. So students truly get a Columbia experience here, and everyone's excited. Everyone on campus loves this program. They're eager to work with the high school students to see them on campus. It provides a great energy to the campus in the summer, and we're really excited for you all to be part of it.
So here, this information is right on our website, the annual security report for parents, right? Everything about public safety, the crime stats are in there for the past 3 years. It also has information about fire safety, other essential information. Our safe haven programs are listed in the back, all the locations. We also have a great publication, Your Rights and Responsibilities when Interacting with Public Safety. Both of these publications are available hard copy at Public Safety, or you could view it and print it out right from our website. Go ahead, please. Getting back to your rights and responsibilities. If you're not happy, it talks about your rights and responsibilities when interacting with public safety, your partnership, your interaction with us. If you're not happy with a service that we provided, you have a right to make a complaint, and you could go right to our website and you could place a complaint right on site. Whether it's a complaint or you want to say something nice, you could go right to our website and send us a message, or you could come in person. A lot of this, I'm going to go a little quick with this because a lot of this information is on our website. We have an extensive crime prevention program, including self-defense classes, engraving, and stuff like that. But this information you could get right from our website. We also have software that locates your computer in the event that it's lost or stolen anywhere in the world. It's called PC Phone Home and Mac Phone Home. How do you download that? You go right to the CUIT website for Columbia, punch in PC Phone Home, and follow the instructions. Someone steals your computer, you lost it, contact public safety. We start the monitoring with your permission to try to locate it. We give that information to the local police in the recovery. Go ahead, please. So this is really the meats and potatoes of this program. Is situational awareness is very important, folks. And I know you got to be excited, man. I'm coming to some of you. It's the first time in New York City. I'm excited, but it's okay to be excited. But you gotta always stay focused. Situational awareness is very important, folks. Whether it's New York City or any other city, you see this picture right there. People walk like that, and when you're walking like that, a lot of things could happen. You're crossing the street. God forbid, you could get run over by a car, or even a bicycle or something like that. But you gotta walk like you're driving a car. That text or that social media post, whatever it is, that could wait till you get to your location. right? Or if it's important, step to the side, pay attention to what's happening around you, and then, or wait till you get to your location and answer that text or social media post. So you got to walk like you're driving a car. What do I mean by that? Well, if you, I'm not sure if you're driving yet, but we teach a class called defensive driving. That class you take when you want to reduce your insurance. You're driving a car, and when you're driving a car, you always look ahead to avoid accidents, right? I'm driving my car, and there's a car coming my way. What am I going to do? I'm going to avoid the accident. I'm going to go this way to avoid the accident. It's the same thing when you're walking in New York City. Please get into the habit of walking with your head up. And when you walk with your head up, and depending on your vision, you can see everything in front of you, and you could avoid problems when any kind of situation. If I'm looking ahead, if I see somebody suspicious over there, my gut feeling, that voice inside of the tells us something is wrong, I'm going to trust my gut feeling. I'm not going that way. I'm going to change direction. I'm going to go the other way. There's a group of people over there. There's an emergency going on over there. There's the police, whatever it is. To avoid that potential problem, I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to cross the street to prevent that potential problem. It's okay to give eye contact out there. I'm not saying to stare. Don't stare. Now, we got some strange New Yorkers. What are you looking at? No. It's okay to give a quick eye glance at somebody. And how do you do that? If you're looking ahead, and I could see everything in front of me. Excuse me, Bill, your surroundings, don't walk in text. We spoke about that. Avoid shortcuts. I want to walk with, there's a lot of people. I'm not going to go through the park at night, poorly lit areas, all right? Because there's no one in there and if you go to the park at night, it's poorly lit, then you could run the risk of getting robbed. Walk in well-lit areas, get to know your neighborhood. Where are those? Okay, Ricardo spoke about all those stores that have, those red line stickers in the window, places where I could go to in the event I need help. Where are the emergency call boxes? Where are the security booths, places where I could go to in the event I need help? I'm going to trust your instincts and beware of pickpockets. I don't know if you can see that picture there. People tend to carry their wallets in that, that pocket in the back, and you get on the train or the bus, and you run the risk of getting pickpocketed. Thieves know that stuff. Don't carry it there. If you're going on the subway, always carry your bag in front of you. Minimize the amount of stuff that you carry in your wallet. Folks, we have food vendors now on the street that accept Venmo and Cash App and stuff like that. So minimize the amount of stuff that you carry, amount of cash that you carry, and credit cards that you carry in your wallet. If you're a victim of any kind of crime, report it to public safety. Report it to the police right away. Go ahead, please. We spoke about parks. Avoid park. New York City has a lot of parks. Great, it's beautiful in there, but not at night. Back it up.
I'm gonna just I have to kind of push us through a little bit because I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions.
Okay.
Is there a particular slide that
In fact, no, go ahead, keep on going. No, come on back. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Let's go to there it is right there. Well, in New York City, the good thing is you're traveling in numbers, and that's most important. Step back of the yellow line, and there's a sign there that tells you when the train is coming. There's also late night waiting areas. If you visit publicsafety.columbia.edu, on the crime prevention, we also have a video for you to watch on transit safety that basically is all the information that's up on the screen. So please view that video. It's only 6 minutes long. Great information for not only new New Yorkers, but seasoned New Yorkers. Go ahead. Okay, and resources, publicsafety.columbia.edu. We're on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. For more information, please send me an email, ps-crimeprevention@columbia.edu. Folks, you're going to have a wonderful experience. I love this place. We have people here from all over the world, the greatest minds in the world at Columbia University, and you're one of them. So we'll see you around campus. If you see me on the screen. If you see me on campus, stop me. Say, hey, I saw you on Zoom. I want to give you that fist bump to welcome you to the Columbia University family.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ricardo. And public safety is very involved in the program. They're around whenever we need them. They're generally stationed at all types of points around the campus. And like I mentioned, we have guards at each of our residential buildings. So we're definitely well taken care of. And one of the things I just wanted to address that I saw in the chat was one of the questions about boundaries that came up was, how do you enforce boundaries, right? we're giving students specific boundaries. We're not going to microchip students. So we truly, this is an opportunity for students to demonstrate maturity through the program by following through on these policies, right? It's a student's responsibility to follow what our program guidelines are. If a student leaves campus boundaries without letting us know, we find out about it, the student will have to come through our conduct process, right? We will have a conduct meeting with them. We will contact the parent to let them know that a student has been going outside of the campus boundaries out of risks, out of precaution for safety, right? We take it really seriously. We're going to loop in the parent. We're going to have a conversation about it. And we will have to, consider just whether or not a student can handle being in the program if they're not able to follow the policies that we outline there, right? So there's a lot of trust there, but it's critical that parents are having that conversation with their students about expectations, right? And parents and guardians are reinforcing expectations that participants in the program are following those guidelines. I'm going to hand it over to Cam, and I think he's going to pitch some questions to us.
All right. And just as a reminder, the session is being recorded and it will be available after the presentation too. I wanted to highlight a couple questions that were kind of repeated. A lot of people were asking similar things. I just want to make sure that we are recording all the questions too, to make sure we can kind of get back to any more specific. So one that came up was, how will non-binary students be included in gendered floor plans?
Absolutely. This is something that we worked really hard across campus to make sure that we have a policy that is going to center the student experience and make sure that we provide housing that a student is going to be comfortable in and feel supported in their gender identity. So in the pre-program survey that we send out, we specifically ask for student preference on gender of the roommate, floor gender options, bathroom gender options, so that we can make sure that we're placing a student where they feel the most comfortable with a roommate they feel the most comfortable with. And we're going to work with them to make sure that a plan works. And if there's any sort of like thing that we need to sort of work out with the student based on their pre-program survey response, we'll directly contact them to say, hey, look, this is what our plan is. How do you feel about this? Do you have any concern? And we'll come up with something together that's going to work for any non-binary students.
Right. And another question we had is, how can students contact disability services or request accommodations?
Yeah, absolutely. Session 2 students and Session 3 students, you might not have received the email yet, but Session 1 students should have all received the email, and I can send that out again with information about submitting disability accommodations. Also on our summer immersion website, there is a link where students can request accommodations. You can also just Google Disability Services Columbia University, which will take you to their website, and they have a request option through their page, or you can email disability@columbia.edu.
And a question for commuter students, what academic building access would they have? Would they have gym access? And would they be able to purchase their own meal plans?
Yeah, for commuter students and residential students, you will have gym access. We work with Dodge Fitness to set up gym access for everybody in advance of the program, as long as you've completed the gym waiver in your pre-enrollment forms and your parent has given you permission to utilize the gym. Even all of our gym staff, the people who work at the fitness center, get protection of minors training. So we're truly working across campus to make sure we provide a safe environment for students. And yeah, that's one of the cool features. We want people to be able to take advantage of some of the resources Columbia has to offer, including the library, including the fitness center. So that'll be that'll work for all three programs. In terms of the dining hall for commuter students in particular, we thought about the idea of doing a meal plan, right? But we didn't want anyone to waste any money on meals that they might not eat, right? So what we determined is that commuter students are able to eat in the dining hall, but we want them to just pay per meal, right? So they can bring a credit or debit card and they can pay for their lunch or they can pay for their dinner. They're in the dining hall. We just don't want to make you commit to a meal plan in which you would not be eating meals with us 7 days a week. And we don't want you to waste any money on that. So you'll just pay per meal at the dining hall.
And this one, there was a lot of questions about this regarding services for students to get to campus from the airport.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. This is a program in which we have hundreds of students coming in from all over the country and all over the world. And because of the really complicated travel arrangements of all of those people who are coming in at different times, we just don't have the capacity to get to coordinate transportation from airports or from train stations to campus. We specifically, that's specifically the responsibility of parents and students to work out what the transportation plan is to campus. We do not, the university for the residential program doesn't sort of take responsibility for students until they're physically on campus. So until they officially check in with us on that first move-in day. So I want to be really clear about that. I know that that can be challenging if you're a parent living in another state or in another country working out transportation, but that will be the responsibility of parents or guardians to work out transportation to campus with their student. And on the enrolled students website for the program, there is a link that says getting to campus, and we provide detailed instructions about where you should go, what time you should plan to be on campus, the address that you're giving, an Uber driver or a Lyft driver to get to campus. And we're happy to sort of check in with parents to make sure that their student did get to campus and have their student call as soon as they arrive to make sure that they get there safely. But we're unable to coordinate shuttle service because we have students coming in from all over the globe coming to the program, and it's hundreds and hundreds of flights that we don't have the capacity to arrange transportation for.
I was just going to point out one of the things that Ricardo mentioned was just understanding your surroundings. So if a student is flying in and they're thinking about taking a taxi or an Uber, they should just be thoughtful about people coming up to them when they're at the airport saying, do you need a ride? Do you need a ride? Do not take that ride. So you need to be in a formalized transportation where people can track you on an app like an Uber. And so just really being aware and thoughtful around folks that might try to take advantage of a student who looks like they could be taken advantage of. So just being very, very aware again.
All right, and kind of going back to a question some commuter students were asking, if you are interested in switching to the residential program, you can email us at hsp-office@columbia.edu and we can work with you more directly.
Let's have them email hsp-admit@columbia.edu. Yeah, we're going to have you work directly with the admissions office because they're the ones who control the application type that you're in, just so that you won't have to go through a middle person, which would be our office, because you would email us and then we would email them. So it's better for you to email them directly, hsp-admit@columbia.edu if you're interested in switching from Commuter. Cam, is it okay? I do have a couple questions I want Ricardo to answer. One of the questions is, are international numbers able to receive emergency text alerts? Are they able to register an international phone number, like if a parent's in another country?
Oh, okay. In fact, I'm not 100% sure on that. But if you send me an email, you can send the email right there, ps-crimeprevention@columbia.edu, and we'll respond right back to you. It's normally the area code, right? The phone number, area code and phone number. If it's like that, then it's going to take it. But if it's like an international where you have to dial 0 or 011 or something like that, just send me an email and I'll make sure I'll get right back to you. And the other thing is you could also get an email on that emergency also. So send me an email, and I'll answer that question for you. I'll find out and get right back to you for if you have an international number, if you could register.
Great, thank you. And then one other thing I wanted to address is that I know that there's been some questions related to for families who are coming out of the area and their students going to be part of the commuter program and they're going to be staying in New York City together as a family. And they were asking for some hotel recommendations. If you email our office at hsp-office@columbia.edu, we have some links that we can connect you to that can help you potentially find some sort of sublet situation. Columbia also has like a Traveling to Columbia website where they have some preferred hotels that they work with that have special rates. So we can share that information with you specifically. hsp-office@columbia.edu. And what we're going to do is with this recording, we'll send the slide deck, we'll send the recording, and what we'll do is we'll also compile these frequently asked questions and provide some answers. So you also have these email addresses where you can reach out to ask any questions that you have and be directed to the right place. And then Cam, I think we might have time for 2 more questions.
Sure. It might be, since we had a couple of questions regarding permission for leaving campus too, maybe we could just reiterate our policies for getting parental permission to the campus boundary.
Right. I saw a question specifically on like, well, what if I'm okay with my student leaving outside of the boundaries? Can I just give them permission? We're not going to do blanket permission. You can't email us and just say, I'm fine with them going wherever. Each time a student wishes to go off campus on their own, it would need to be for a particular reason, right? Otherwise, they can coordinate with their RA to, if they want to go shopping or they want to go see a specific play or go do a specific New York thing. We have tons of staff. We want them to do those activities with other students. We're happy to have our staff supervise those excursions. This would really be limited to, a specific thing. Maybe a student has a regular psychologist that they meet with. They're setting up mental health, care for themselves during the program, and they need to go to their psychologist every Thursday or something like that. Or they have a specific music program that they're part of, and they're receiving specialized lessons or something during the program once a week or something like that. And we're giving them a specialized pass for that, right? That the parent can approve. But other than that, we're going to avoid doing any blanket, like my kid can go wherever they want. Because in line with our policy, we want to make sure that we're just keeping kids as safe as possible during the program, especially residential students. They're our responsibility. We want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to keep them safe. So that's kind of the thinking around that.
And for one final question that a lot of people are asking is locations and dates for move-in.
Absolutely. So if you go on the enrolled students website, there is a website, there's a tab called Getting to Campus, and similar to on that tab, it has the specific instructions of where you're reporting to, what time you're able to check in, and all of those details. We'll also send a specific email about it with all those details, but it's already up on the website that you can access on your own. We just haven't sent a separate email about it, but all those details are already online on the enrolled students website, and we'll make sure to in the recording of this email of this webinar to send that out as well. Dean Crawford, any final thoughts?
Oh, just thank you so much for the investment in your students' education and experience. We really appreciate you trusting us with that. Vanessa, would you like to share what the next webinar is going to be, just so that folks have that?
Yeah, absolutely. On and I didn't quite get to it. Let me
Oh.
share our student services office contact information. That would be a good thing. Feel free to screenshot this page. We have a webinar, another webinar coming up on May 23rd. It is, or May 26th, sorry, on Thursday, May 26th, from 8 to 9:30 p.m. And that's going to be on Thriving at Columbia. During that webinar, we're going to be talking about academic resources, academic expectations. We're going to be talking more about the excursions off campus, the events on campus. And we're also going to be talking about health and wellness, right? How to take care of yourself, now that you're going to be more independent living on campus, eating healthy, making sure you're getting sleep, making sure you're exercising, and also talking about any wellness resources that we have on campus. And we've tried to do a good job this summer of making sure that we have staff who are specifically working on supporting students in maintaining positive mental health throughout the program, and building community while you're here. So we hope you can join us for that. We'll also be recording that session. And thank you so much to all of you for joining us tonight. Thank you so much to Cam and Dean Crawford and Ricardo Morales for all being here and sharing information. And we'll be sure to send this recording out to everyone. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good morning. Have a good day wherever you're at in the world. And we will be in touch.